Guys ready? All right, here we go. 3, 2.
Zach Posner, how are you?
Ted, I think this is podcast number 3 or 3 or.
Well, at least we've done some on your side too.
I want to say maybe 4.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
To answer your question, I'm well.
Good.
Anytime I get to be across from a mic from you, I'm excited to do so.
We always have fun. We always have fun. So first, welcome. This is the first inaugural ILTACON Live. We did this last year on our own at InfoDash. We just basically set up a booth out in the hallway. We had professional setup, but we decided to partner with ILTA this year because they've got more resources than we do.
Probably a lot easier.
Right, exactly, that too. So welcome. First, you guys had some news recently, the Legal Tech Fund. Why don't you give an intro? I think most people know what the Legal Tech Fund is, but just give us a quick intro on what it is.
Absolutely. So we're investing in early stage companies that are transforming the world of law. We have invested to date in 73 companies all across the globe. You know, we invest in companies that are software selling into law firms, similar to what you guys do, software selling into corporates, software selling into SMBs, and then all the way down to consumers as well. And it's we got a pretty awesome team, and we've been having a lot of fun the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, we're a portfolio company. You guys invested in us a year ago-ish?
Ish.
Yeah, and we've had a great experience. We were in the fortunate position to not really need a ton of capital because the way our licensing model works.
I would say a lot of our companies have not necessarily needed our capital, or a lot of our companies don't necessarily need a ton of capital either.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of, but they've fortunately chosen to work with us, and that's been just awesome.
Yeah. Well, you guys there's lots of intangibles besides just writing a check.
Yeah.
Your LPs, whatever it is you can share.
Look, our investor base is, a lot of them are strategic. We've announced law firms like McDermott, Will, and Schulte now.
That's right.
Not Emery. After their recent merger, law firms like Oric, companies like DocuSign, companies like Carta. And the theory is all these people can help our portcos reach their full potential. And we do a lot more than financial capital. I like to say, like, we invest capital, but probably the more valuable side, the dollars are almost a commodity these days, but it's almost like the human capital. This is all that we do, is this vertical. We spend more time on we're really the only dedicated fund across the globe that's thinking about this stuff. So from our end, this is, it's about all the relationships that we can bring, and our whole goal is simple, to help our portcos reach their full potential.
Yeah. And, I get hit up, you and I talked about this pre-conference, 15 plus emails a week from VCs, and I hear a lot of different pitches on, hey, we can help with operational matters, and we want to be helpful. And, the reality is how the litmus test for me is, what have you done in legal? Right, and you guys, your legal resume is unmatched.
And look, it's like somebody asked me this morning, how do we think about AI in law firms? And maybe a traditional venture capital was, we think they're going to adopt it, we think they're behind. We would say, actually, we think this is like a 6-sided Rubik's Cube. You have the business of law, you have the practice of law, you have law firms that bill by the hour, you have contingency firms. You have
ALSPs.
You have ALSPs, but besides those 4, you also have things along, like you have big firms and you have small firms. And if you take those 6 and mix them up, dramatically different stories as to like adoption of AI, actual usage of AI, who's signing. So it's like, but that type of deep industry expertise, is where we're like coming to play. Any one of those 6, completely different story, completely different sales cycle, completely different security requirements, and just the fact that we understand that, and that's all we do all day, every day.
Yeah,
I think it makes a difference.
Yeah, and and it's different events, it's different ICPs, ideal customer profiles, for those that don't know what that means. we kind of had to find our way. So our journey started back in '08. We were a consulting company called AcroWire, and we knew we wanted to play in legal because we had a little bit of a resume there. And, we started off, our first conference was the ABA Tech Show. And we got there as a great event, but it really wasn't where our capabilities lined up. Smaller firms, and they really don't have as much of a need for what we deliver. So we transitioned from a services company to a product company, InfoDash. We do legal intranets and extranets, and we sell primarily to knowledge management and innovation. And this is the event,
But even that, compared to a ClioCon, that's still,
right.
Here you have those stakeholders walking around. Literally, we're standing in the middle of the showroom floor, right, the exhibit hall floor right now, versus a Clio where you have individual practitioners, individual attorneys, but there's different companies and different stages, and who their customer is, that makes a big difference. And understanding all these nuances has been very important, as you know.
We had to learn the hard way. We had to go spend the money, show up, be like, this isn't quite the right fit, experiment. It would have been great. I would have loved to have found you 15 years ago.
But they call that experience.
That's right. Well, you learn those lessons the best.
Yeah.
Like somebody can tell you, hey, you really need to be here instead of here, and if you jump in and do it, you understand why, and you can make better decisions. Let's talk a little bit about, is it Legal Tech Labs?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Tell us. That sounds so cool.
It is very cool. I think that the idea came up is we wanted a dedicated space. I don't mean physical space, but I mean almost like mind share from our end, and we wanted to be welcoming to the earliest stages of entrepreneurs. So these are people with concepts. Maybe a little bit of capital, maybe a prototype, and they're trying to do something a little bit different. And the labs kind of will rotate thematically what the focus is on. But the overall case for the labs is, hey, here's a place you can come at your earliest stage, similar to an incubator, similar to an accelerator, and in this vertical, we will provide you with as much support as we can, and then also as much connecting peers that are going through the exact same challenges as you, really connecting you to this community, so you're not doing these things by yourself. The initial subject area that we're really excited about for labs is almost we're calling it Law Firm 2.0, and this is almost your next generation of a law firm. And what we've seen in the last couple of years is this transition from companies saying, hey, we're going to create some SaaS software specifically for law firms to use, or maybe more around the practice of law than the business of law. And that has slowly transitioned along with some regulatory changes and the advancement of technology to say, you know what, maybe we can build a micro law firm. And all that we're going to focus on is X, Y, or Z, but we're going to put software behind this, and our software is going to get so many reps of seeing so many specific types of agreements that we can automate a lot of this. So that's the current theme we're working on, is called Law Firm 2.0, and but the overall construct is just saying, if you're getting started, we want to create a home for you. We want to, there's a lot of challenges in this vertical, but there's nothing that a lot of others haven't seen before. So if we can put you in that community, we hope good things can happen.
So, and are these pre-revenue?
Some are.
Okay.
Some are, some aren't. I mean, it's more we're trying to catch the thematic companies, but in general, all of these Law Firm 2.0 companies, they're pretty early. I mean, really, it's been the advent of AI with the advent of some regulatory changes that are enabling this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard there's already some players out there in the space, like Crosby is.
You got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting. And so before we get off the labs, should we think about this as a Y Combinator for legal tech?
Bingo.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
And the way that Y Combinator gives you, a stamp of approval.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking to help put our weight behind these companies to help them in any way that we can, these entrepreneurs.
You know what? And so I saw a really interesting post on LinkedIn recently, and the poster said that law firms don't buy technology, they buy social proof. And it is so true. And how I know it's true, I used to have hair. When I started in legal in 2008, I had hair, and I thought that, you know what, I've got a great team. I'm from Microsoft. Like, that's how all this got started, was a side gig at Microsoft. I got the pedigree. I've worked in enterprise IT. I can go make a pitch to anybody. Yeah. And the reality is we had to eat table scraps for years before we really got a chance to play in the AM law. And even once we did play in the AM law space, you know, AM law firms go, hey, what other AM law firms do you do business with?
Yep.
We'll go to New York. They want to know what other AM law firms in New York do you do business with? And somebody's got to give you that first crack. And it takes time. So having you guys in the cap table really helps. You vetted the hell out of us. You looked at our financials, you looked at our management team, you looked at our strategy, you looked at how we had executed.
And we know your customers.
You know our customers. You talk to them too.
We know your biz dev relationships. We know what other people in this space think about you. A lot of our deals that are a little bit later stage, like, we have all the information that we need almost before we ever interact with the company.
Right. Well, and again, from the tech company side, it's another feather in our cap. You guys have taken a close look at us. You like what we're doing.
Yep.
We're clearly financially sound. Otherwise, you wouldn't write us a check.
Yeah.
Right. So it is. I think that's going to be a big benefit for these, firms that are coming out of this program.
That's the goal. It's like, think back to 2008. Like, there weren't programs like us, and if we could have, our only goal is to help entrepreneurs reach their full potential, and. We've had lots of entrepreneurs say, I wish you would have been here way back when. I mean, we caught you in time.
Yeah.
But a lot of these, and we look around this showroom floor and we see all these amazing brands that have been built. And we think there's a lot of good stuff happening in legal.
So, speaking of this floor, we have Startup Alley over there.
Yes.
Did you get a chance to stroll down?
Of course I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything? Well, first of all, do you have portcos over there?
I'm going to say the 5 portco companies of ours that are there are our top
okay, cool.
priority. But yes, there's look, it's awesome what ILTA's been doing. Just putting more of it, creating that Startup Alley.
Yeah.
And for those that aren't here with us, what's really neat is it's a consistent booth, and I think that's really important for startups. Like, you guys have moved past that stage, but even to figure out, we're staring at his booth right now, but even to look at your booth and to think about what that took to get that booth physically here.
Yeah.
And to get that these are just things that startups can't do.
Yeah.
They just don't have the resources. And so it's really awesome that ILTA provides that service and giving these startups a shot and getting them in front of this audience.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And we got custom Jordans. I don't know if those are in frame there, but those are Infodash Jordans. I bought them for the whole team. It was a couple $1,000, but it's great marketing.
But that's something you wouldn't have been able to do in 2008. And but there's an area for that. Everybody wants to be around startups, so people are going through and checking them out. So
I'll be completely honest. Our first ILTA as a product company, it was like our first one in 2008, and we were scrambling for food. I remember we snuck in some vendor's party, and there was a carving station, and Adam and I were like,
"Game on!
We can actually eat some meat here." That is the reality of it when you're starting out. It's like toothpicks and bubble gum, and you do the best you can. So the fact that you guys are supporting that is great. And your timing, let's talk quickly about your timing. Were you lucky with? Luck. Yeah, I was going to say.
Everything's been luck. I mean, look, we started investing in the space before personally, but the fund launched in 20. And we just saw we saw broken workflows everywhere, and we knew the workflows needed to get fixed. The AI stuff that we all magically saw that demo on November 30th, 22.
Yep.
That's lucky. You know what I mean? And by the way, the legal world did not necessarily need that at the time. We still need to fix a lot of this workflow stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of basic blocking and tackling that still needs to be done. But the rest of the world's enthusiasm for this vertical, that is all, and that brings good and bad. That's bringing tons of VC dollars to the space. More companies are getting started, but sometimes maybe all these companies shouldn't be started.
Yeah.
Or maybe you shouldn't be having 15 emails a week coming in, because maybe there's a little bit distracting to entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah, you got to keep your head down. It's so easy to get distracted. Speaking on funding coming into the market, are we frothy right now?
I think this is very frothy. I think that look, I mentioned November of 22. If you recall, in early 23, Goldman Sachs came out with a report, and it said 44% of legal work is susceptible to AI.
Yep.
And from that point forward, this has been number one on every venture capital fund's list to invest in this vertical. Everybody wants a legal tech company. And I think that that's what you really saw from 23 to almost today, is everybody making a bet.
Yeah.
Now, I think we're about to start coming out of that, and I think that people have made their bets. So I think that the AI world will come back to normal a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's healthy. I think that entrepreneurs get excited with the big numbers, but you got to build amazing businesses. And if you get on the venture capital drug for too long, it becomes problematic. So we prefer to see companies that are kind of bootstrapping and doing things the hard way, because they're just entrepreneurs building amazing businesses day in, day out. And then I also think it creates this environment that it just shouldn't exist. When you read about some of these companies raising 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 200, $5 million, it creates not the right competitive market. Like, the best product should win.
Right.
Not necessarily the ones that are able to fundraise the best. So I think there's some challenges with the market that we're sitting in. And of course, some will do well and some will not.
Yeah.
But,
well, as far as I've been writing about Big Law 2.0 for a while, because we're focused on the large law segment. I saw an article, I think you read it too, because Gordon tagged me in it, where they were kind of outlining their thesis, this other venture fund. And in it, they said, if Rip Van Winkle were to wake up, the only thing he'd recognize is a law firm. They've been laggards historically, and they've underinvested in technology relative to peers. And that is now, we are at a stage where that is no longer an option, and firms are going to have to invest, and all these dollars.
One of our partners brought up some Charles Dickens novels, and they described the law firms in different, and it's just like very much similar to how it's been in the last couple of years. COVID was obviously a little bit of a, that changed the physical space as to how people, and that kind of pushed a lot of folks to the cloud and did some of those lines. But no, I think you're about to see some change.
Yeah. All right, final thought here. So what have you seen in this day and a half, 2 days at ILTACON that stood out from a tech perspective? Has there been, you keep your ear to the ground. There's probably not a lot that surprises you, and you don't have to name a company, but just something that someone's doing that you found interesting.
We're sitting here at an event that has to do with big law, and we're looking at a pretty big Clio booth.
Very interesting.
I think when I walked in, I saw competitors to these companies that are usually in the personal injury side. I think you're seeing some sort of blend where I gave you that 6-sided Rubik's Cube, but you're watching the corners kind of blend into each other, where people are trying to go into a couple of these different markets at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really interesting. What's something you saw?
That is a really good question. So I haven't spent a lot of time on the exhibit floor, but I'm going to piggyback on what you just mentioned with Clio. So they've been making some really interesting moves. They bought ShareDo, they bought VLEX.
Yep.
And they really seem like they're trying to move up market. VLEX is a big law play. So to your point, I think as Law 2.0, I'll keep the big out of it. As Law 2.0 unfolds, I think that you're going to see a 5-employee AmLaw firm, right? With AmLaw size revenues, with a very limited headcount. That's not going to be today or tomorrow, but that is absolutely going to happen. And I think we're starting to see signs of kind of the foundation start to get laid for that.
Could not agree anymore. It's just a question of when. It's not an if.
Yes. Well, I really appreciate you joining me. It's always a pleasure, sir.
It is a pleasure having you in the portfolio. It's a pleasure getting to work with you. And thank you for all the work you do at your company, but also the entire space.
Yes, I appreciate that. All right, we'll have you on the podcast again soon.
Let's do it.
All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, Ted.
Fun stuff, man.